residents of the city of Oakland, particularly those low-income to middle-class people. I would like to know, why have you allowed your city council to effectively disenfranchise you? Now, being disenfranchised doesn't always mean that you are deprived of the right to vote. It can also mean that you are deprived of another right or privilege. And in this case, you have effectively been denied the right to have your opinion heard by your elected representative on the city council. Why? Because they don't want to hear from you. They don't want to hear what you have to say. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the city council decided to change the public meeting time for the council from an early evening start to 1:30 in the afternoon, during a time when the majority of you would be at work. And the thing is, when the majority of 8 to 5ers had already had lunch, like around 12:30, they are not going to be allowed to take a break so they could call into a city council meeting at 1:30. Ask yourself, or better yet, ask the city council, why they changed the scheduled start time of the meetings. Zoom works just as well at 6:30 in the evening as it does at 1:30 in the afternoon. The reason, once again, is that they did not want to hear from the working class men and women of the city of Oakland. Now, I attended yesterday's public meeting so I could hear the voices and opinions of those providing public comment. The fewest number of opinions given were those of black people. Why? Probably because we had to work in order to pay rent for these overpriced rental units or homes. We can't afford to take 4 hours out of our workday to provide a comment that's limited to 2 minutes. You heard me correctly, 4 hours. And now in my case, I was able to be heard after 3 hours, or almost 3 hours. Speakers are heard in the order in which they raise their hand, or if they were meeting in person, it would be the order in which they lined up to be heard. So if you lined up first, then no, in this case, it would have taken you about an hour and a half to be heard. When I raised my hand, apparently that put me an hour and a half after the first person. Either way, I was appalled by what occurred yesterday. You see, the agenda called for the roll call and then actions on special orders of the day, which includes ceremonial presentations, reports and presentations from the mayor, council acknowledgments and announcements, followed by public comment. After the roll call, there was no ceremonial presentation, as was announced by Ms. Bass. She said we're going on to ceremonial presentations, and instead we were forced to listen to council members and others falling all over themselves to praise 3 individuals who are retiring from city service, each as a separate agenda item. And then it was like an oral orgy, as each speaker attempted to verbally fillet the retiree while taking a morbid pleasure in the pain of others, as they forced us to bear witness to this if we wanted to provide public comment. An actual presentation involves but 2 people, the presenter and the recipient, no one else. Just ask Chris Rock and Will Smith. Instead, council members spoke. The city attorney spoke. Some dude from ODOT spoke. Someone's son spoke. All the while, members of the public were expected to wait, and they waited almost 90 minutes before even the first among them could speak. As you can see, the city council placed its need to fall all over itself, praising employees of the city over the value of the residents' time. When individuals were allowed to speak, the majority of them were white. And look, I'm going to stop you right now because I know what you're going to ask. So I'm going to answer you. I studied paralanguage. And while it's not an exact science, I am rather adept at it, with over 90% accuracy during testing at identifying the race of a person I'm speaking with. Of course, while not looking at them. After the white people, then there were the activist or special interest groups, followed by Hispanic / Mexican individuals, union members, and finally, lastly, black people. These are the people the city council wants to hear from in the priority, in which they place the priority of their opinions, I guess. White people with the financial means to miss half a day of work because they have money. That's what they want. They want money. If you have money, they'll listen to you. Then you had activist organizations, and they will listen to them because that organization could mobilize a mob to protest against the city council or particular city council members if their interests are ignored. Just look at the Supreme Court. And from what I heard yesterday, the council really could care less about what union members have to say. And considering that I heard a white male union member, or at least that's how he identified himself, and a black female union member, as that's how she identified herself as a union member, not a black female. Their comments were the same, likely because they're reading from a script. So I can understand why, if you're going to read the same comment, I'm not going to pay too much attention to you either. And lastly, there were the paltry few black people who commented. The fewer black people who comment, the less the city council is going to pay attention to black concerns. The more they're going to run your black ass over with their agenda and then say, well, we open it up to community comment. Yeah, you open it up at a time when black people were not available, and you did it on purpose. I'm going to ask you why you don't speak up, my black and brown brothers and sisters, because I already know. I already told you. You're at work so that you can earn money to support your families. And I'll even go out on a ledge and say that you don't like what's happening to a once proud working class city. I'm guessing that you see the writing on the wall as infrastructure that white people desire is being forced upon you in your very own neighborhoods. Look, black folks don't want no dedicated bike lanes. If it's midnight on a Friday and you drive down East 14th Street, black folks don't want to be relegated to a single lane of traffic because of the BRT when there ain't no buses coming. Like a rapist, the Oakland City Council has forced itself upon you black folks, you brown folks, while putting their hand over your mouths to keep you from shouting out. Force him to return the public meeting schedule to 6:30. That will remove their hand from your mouth and you can yell out rape because you have had something forcibly implanted in your anal cavity for the last 2 years.